And we're live. So I look around and I see all these Facebook pages that are dedicated to Bruce Lee, and I read and sometimes I participate in these online discussions about Jeet Kune Do, and sometimes it makes me kind of wonder, makes me kind of ask myself, who's out there doing Jeet Kune Do versus who's out there becoming or being Jeet Kune Do, right? Hello everyone, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, and welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast number 85. This is the one about becoming or being Jeet Kune Do. So as you guys are logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from and hit the like button, and feel free to continue doing so. If I happen to say anything that you agree with or if you find it particularly insightful, and Facebook will know that we're having a good time, and they will assign some necessary algorithmic relevance to what we're doing. All right, so what do I mean by becoming or being Jeet Kune Do? Okay, so let me deal with becoming Jeet Kune Do. It's a present participle in grammar, obviously, so that's used to form a continuous tense, right? Making it an indication of an ongoing process, correct? And as we all know, we've heard that many times, I've said it many times here before, JKD is a process and not a product. And I'm sure you've heard it from other people before. So that means that every day you kind of have to work at becoming Jeet Kune Do. Bruce Lee is an example of that. It is a known fact that Bruce Lee woke up every day and relentlessly trained himself. And he trained himself physically and mentally, right? Okay, so now I said that for a particular reason, this physical and mental thing. All right, so can I tell you something about that? I wrote it that way because we always hear people in the martial arts world talk about physical and mental development, you know, your own physical and mental development, the physical and mental development of your students and all this stuff. But sometimes we never hear them talk about emotional or spiritual development. That seems to be something that's reserved for like sessions with your psychoanalyst or your psychotherapist, you know, or maybe even in your meditation class. All right, I'll come to that a little bit later, right? Except that Jeet Kune Do is supposed to be teaching us about well-roundedness, right? Well-roundedness is a reason why we have, for example, in JKD, an emphasis on developing skill in the original 4 ranges of combat, which I say original because I like to refer to it as the 4 skills of empty-handed combat, aka kicking, punching, trapping, and grappling, right? And actually, I have a question for any of you out there who will see or hear this. So last week, if you've seen the broadcast, or if you were on the broadcast with me, like Adam Waldrep, you know that we discovered that way before Bruce Lee, practitioners of Japanese karate, like some of the originators of Shotokan, that they were using protective gear and they were sparring full contact, right? So what I'm wondering is, does anyone know if Bruce Lee took the idea of the 4 ranges of combat? Is that from an outside source, or do you know if that is his original nomenclature? Right, so that's something that I'd like some help in researching. Right, in any case, I still think it's safe to say that the JKD approach is unlike anything else that's out there. Yes, there are people who have their blend system or combining or whatever, but when you truly understand, then you realize that JKD is a different thing, right? And it is a different thing, partially, one of the reasons why it's a different thing is because its philosophies, even as they come from sources like Zen or Taoism or other Eastern philosophies, or even New Thought of the era, they're still built into JKD. You don't have to go somewhere else to find them if you're paying attention, right? They're right there in front of you in JKD. In my JKD journey, one of the things that helped me to make sense of it all was the explanation of the YinYang Concept, right here in the Art and Philosophy book, page 68, where it says essentially that it's a mistake to think of these two elements think of these two elements of opposites, right? Think of yin and yang as opposites instead of the complementary halves of a whole. So an idea that I garnered from JKD's 4 ranges of combat was that human development takes place essentially in 4 spheres. So we talked about how you always hear about physical development and mental development and what have you, but not as often do you hear about emotional and spiritual. So those are the 4 spheres of human development: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, right? PEMS. That's actually why my first company was called the PEMS Development Foundation, because it ran my business, which is called Unified Martial Art Academy, because the whole gist behind everything was the development of the individual. And all of that, for me, came from Bruce Lee, came from Jeet Kune Do. It was JKD philosophy in actual application, right? Beyond the mere physical. And so not doing Jeet Kune Do, but becoming Jeet Kune Do. When you hear Bruce Lee tell Lau in Enter the Dragon, we need emotional content, not anger. That's, to me again, a clue of an aspect of what Bruce Lee taught people, that it is necessary to have control over one's emotions in order to use them effectively to continuously move oneself onward and upward and forward, right? So, but to backtrack to the beginning of this little discussion here, physical training for a lot of people is where it starts. And then when you commit to physical training, so for example, somebody who is very committed to physical training is Mr. Nick Cavallino, who I know is on here watching with me. Carlos Redlick used to be committed to physical training. I'm not sure, I'm just teasing, right? I'm not sure how much physical training Carlos is committed to right now, but that is where a lot of people start. And very often when you commit to physical training, there's very often a corresponding change in your mindset, isn't there? You start, let's say in the minimum, you start eating differently, and the consistent working out, that starts to affect your mind, and your emotions start being used to keep you on the path of discipline. And you may even start thinking differently about other aspects of humanity, other things in life, right? So to me, when you have physical, emotional, mental development occurring simultaneously, then there is an automatic spiritual development. So you learn to become what I call an SSCU, right? A spiritually self-contained unit. So that's the path of becoming JKD: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual development. And when you reach the stage where it is all effortless, kind of like the return to the original freedom stage, if you know what I'm talking about, now you are being Jeet Kune Do. Okay, that's it for today. Feel free, share, like, comment, ask me questions if you want. Help me in the research whether or not the 4 ranges of combat is original. Richard Torres just came on. He'll have the answer for me in 2 seconds, right? Is 4 ranges of combat original Bruce Lee nomenclature, or is it possible that he took it from somewhere else? So comment, ask questions. I'll review everything after posting. Sign up for notifications for when we go live here on Facebook. And please, please, please subscribe to the YouTube channels for both the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast and the Jeet Kune Do dialogues. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods. At ilovejeetkundO.com. The Quick Skill Series Volume 1 still available. Coming up on Friday, which is July 12th. The Jeet Kune Do Dialogues episode with Dave Kovar of Satori Academy. That's a name that might be familiar to some of you in the JKD world. It's a name that might not be familiar to you in the JKD world, right? That's this Friday at 6 p.m.
Adam says, how can you use JKD to control negative emotions like anger, anxiety? Well, I can't give you the full answer here, Adam. Actually, I was going to reach out to you after the broadcast, right, and talk to you. It's okay, Mr. Torres. I know you're a busy guy, right? But Adam, part of the answer that you're looking for is contained in exactly what it is that I said. Bruce Lee said to Lau, we need emotional content, not anger. Part of being able to control emotions is to realize whether or not they are serving you positively or negatively. So anxiety, what is the point of anxiety? What is the point, Adam, of worrying about something? You find me a person who has ever successfully worried his or her way out of a situation. Doesn't happen. It's not about worrying. It's about identifying what the problem is, what the situation is, right? And then seeking the answer. And when you find the answer or an answer, you go ahead and you take action, right? Worrying about stuff is not going to do anything for you. It's not going to get anywhere. Getting angry about stuff, yeah, you might feel good in the instant, right? It might feel good to yell and cuss and call people names and what have you. But ultimately, when things calm down, you're going to discover that the anger really didn't do much of anything, unless you are somebody who has learned how to channel the energy of something like anger and positively transfer it in the moment. So that now, so I'll tell you a story. Harinder Singh is on here. I'm not going to use names, but I'm going to tell you a story. But my understanding is that there is a Jeet Kune Do guy who, if something happened to him in traffic, like if he got cut off in traffic or whatever, this is the story as I heard it. He would pull over, right, to the side of the road and get out on the side of the road and shadow box, right? So using the adrenaline rush that one can experience when you get cut off in traffic or stuff like that. What he was doing was converting that energy into something useful. Now, if you can create that in your mind in the instant where you need it, right? So like if you happen to be in training and you need to adopt a particular kind of mindset, and you can create that. Look, Adam, I'll tell you this because I'm just ranting now at you, and it's really something that we should talk about one-on-one. But here's the thing. There's a reason, and it doesn't matter what your belief about how you ended up being a human being and how you got here on the planet, right? But we all know that we do have a brain. There is a biblical passage that says, in my Father's house are many mansions. And depending on how it is that you interpret or read or understand biblical passages, right? There's a contention that the phrase, in my Father's house are many mansions, Father's house refers to your mind, your brain, and your capacity for thinking and your capacity for creating different mindsets, for creating different mental attitudes. That's what many mansions are. And we all have the infinite capacity to create the kind of the world that we want in our minds first, and then go out there and bring it into actuality. A lot of times that's where it starts. You talk to anybody who is, so Alfred Magnan is on here. Alfred runs a successful school here in Miami. As a matter of fact, he is our host for the upcoming Muay Thai seminar, the annual Muay Thai seminar with Ajahn Chai. You talk to somebody like Albert. You talk to somebody like Carlos, who's on here. You talk to somebody like Terry Valor. Who else is on here, right? You talk to Sifu Singh, to Sifu Torres, talk to Glenn Suarez, all these people, right? Ask them when they succeeded in something, whether or not it didn't first originate in their minds. There is nothing. You see this microphone here? This microphone here, this headset with a microphone. The people who invented these things, where did they first conceive of it? In their minds. That's where everything starts. That's why mental control, mental development is important. But it cannot exist in a vacuum. I don't know how we got into this, right? I was talking about becoming or being Jeet Kune Do. All right, listen, guys, that's it. I'm gonna reach out to Adam because he had asked me a question about teaching also, and I needed to touch base with him on that. Right? Okay, so that's it. 6 p.m. Friday with Dave Kovar of Satori Academy. This is going to be a good one, I guarantee, whether you know who he is or not, right? Okay, today's a red day. Here's the t-shirt. It's an old one, right? I'll see you back here, some of you on Friday, some of you next week for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Do Rebel, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.